Scott Golden, Golden Opportunities Coaching, and the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel here, as well as the @PO Perception Twitter account. Today we're going to talk about something that's so important. Find your why. If you don't understand why you're doing something, then the odds of it being successful become virtually impossible because your why is your motivating factor. When you begin to understand that every action you take has a motivating factor, some known, some unknown. An unknown motivating factor is something that's happening in your reticular activating system or the recesses of your brain that deal with repeated action from an unconscious level. Now, here's the interesting thing. If you really care about finding your why, you've got to begin to understand that you have to push yourself beyond where you've ever been. You have to push yourself beyond the limitations of belief of popular society. That is to say, some people say I do something because that's what everyone else does. The minute that you fall into group thinking, ultimately your why gets lost because you're doing someone else's why, or you're doing the collective why. It's what other people do, it's what other responsible people do, it's what I should do, it's what my family told me to do. These aren't your specific why. Your why lights you up in the morning. Your why is the last thing you think of before you go to sleep at night. Your why is the thing that makes studying or learning or growing or seeking out information worth it to you. Your why has to become one of the things that motivates you, and it has to be unique to you. Now, how do you find your why? The easiest answer is, what are the things in your life that light you up? What are the things in your life that you would do for free or do without expecting anything back from? I say do for free if you're trying to find your professional why. These are the things where you ultimately are going to be most successful, because when you understand how to add value to something simply from the basis that you can, and simply from the basis that it is your desire, the money will flow with it, because money in itself is just energy. Most people get stuck. They think about degrees, they think about college, they think about the things that other people have done to be successful. But that doesn't have to be your pathway. That isn't to say it can't be your pathway, but if your why is because other people are doing something, or if your why is because other people have told you to do something, it isn't your why. It's a programmed response to what you believe other people will find acceptable. Now, you can live an acceptable life, but you will not live an exceptional life when you're looking to live an acceptable life. Those are two different things. An acceptable life is one at which you manage to try to find ways not to tick people off, ways not to make people angry, ways not to leave people in a negative direction. And so it's so very important that you begin to be completely transparent with yourself. Why am I here? What legacy do I want to leave on this planet? What do I want people to say about me should something happen to me tomorrow? If the world was to take me out of it tomorrow through some catastrophe or illness, what do I want people to be able to say about the impact I made personally, professionally, spiritually, as it relates to relationships? Those things are your compelling why. Now, the interesting thing is to say, do not allow yourself to get lost. Do not allow yourself to get sidetracked. When you begin to doubt that you can do something, you must remind yourself of your compelling why. You must remind yourself of the things that you need to or want to do. You must find inspiration again, and sometimes finding inspiration again means going back to the drawing board. It also means giving yourself permission to be re-inspired or to be inspired by something different. You can look at other people and see what they are doing, draw inspiration from the struggles of others and the triumphs of others, but never try to become somebody else just to fit in or just to get value or just to have value. Instead, you must know that you are one of a kind. The one of a kind nature of the essence of who you are is essential for you understanding and living your why. Your why is also the thing that you would do just because it comes naturally. In the flow of the why, you get new ideas, you get inspiration, you get decisions, you get value, you get the ability to make a difference. When you begin to live on autopilot, you often lose your why. The reason is because the things you think you have to do versus the things you get to do. This is something I work with clients on all the time, almost on a daily basis. There's two ways to live life. You can live life from the standpoint of what you get to do or what you have to do. When something becomes an obligation, it takes you out of the flow of positive progression. When something becomes an obligation and not an opportunity, you have detached from your emotional connection and active connection to it. Now, that's not to say there aren't things that we think we have to do that ultimately are responsible. Follow laws, follow rules, follow procedures. But here's the thing: just because something is a rule doesn't mean that you have to follow it. Yes, certainly follow the laws, but break the rules of what you think is acceptable, because that is where trends are set. That is where history is made. That is where inventions are born. That is where new beliefs are formulated. When you break the rules of what other people think you should do, when you live what must happen for you or from you so that you can begin to see the value in everything that you're doing, that is when you have found your why. Also understand that the more you give, the more you grow. What that means is the act of giving is going to make you expansive. The act of giving is going to make you feel as though new things are possible, different things are possible, things of a different level are possible, so that you can begin to understand your complete value in total. When you see that value, when you understand that value, it is ultimately because you understand everything that you are doing and the greater good that you can create from it. When you begin to understand how to create from your greater good rather than from expectation or rules or regulations or objectives laid forth by a boss or laid forth by a social grouping, you then will be more powerful. The reason you'll be more powerful is because your why will be unique to you and the experience you're having. That obviously we want to add value. We want to continue to grow something. And if something isn't growing, it's dying. So even if you're struggling with certain aspects of your life, you have to understand that those struggles truly create the reality that you are experiencing. When you begin to see yourself as someone who can push through the desire to quit, when you begin to see yourself as someone who is capable of pushing through the moments when you doubt yourself, that's when you found your why. Now, your why has to be something that is broken down into 3 areas of goals. Medium range goals, these are goals that are going to take you a while to get there. Short range goals, these are goals you can set within a day or a week's time. The more short-range goals you have, the more momentum you can build. If you don't have a good relationship with momentum in your personal, professional, and inner life, chances are you will not succeed. You also have to understand that when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel negative emotion, when you feel things that you can't handle, you must have a different relationship with changing 2 things: your focus and your physiology. Your focus, because where your mind goes, your body will follow. Your physiology, because when you change your body chemistry through body language and nonverbal cueing, you actually are changing how the information that your brain is sending to your body, and then also your central nervous system alters. If you need to get back in touch with your why, take some deep breaths, change your body structure, go for a run. Do something different. Be intentional about your movements. Study the way that you move when you're feeling happy, when you're feeling joyful, when you're feeling powerful. And then study the way you feel when you're depressed or anxious or worried or how you move during those moments. Because when you can understand that motion creates emotion, that is, motions create our emotional state, and the physical reactions that happen within the body are just indicators of what is yet to come. It is then in that moment that you begin to understand that you have the power to change your state at any given moment. Obviously, this stuff has been taught for years. Les Brown, Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, all of these individuals have taught the connection between the body and the mind and the importance of action. But when you need to know your why, you have to understand that there's going to be moments you don't feel your why. You have to be able to reconnect with the inner self. You have to be able to reconnect with your driving force, driving factor. Oftentimes, this requires you to look for something bigger than yourself. Look for a mission of a legacy to create and leave. Because when you have a mission, when you have that bigger than you why, those moments where you begin to doubt, is this worth it? You'll go, of course it is, because here's the end result. You have to have those long range, 5-year, 10-year, 20-year goals. What is the difference I want to make, and how large is it? You also have to be willing with your goals or aspirations to grow them. In other words, have a checklist of things that you're accomplishing, but also have a list of things that you're growing into. Checking with your goals, checking in with yourself on a regular, consistent basis, sometimes weekly, sometimes monthly, sometimes quarterly, is essential to staying in the positive momentum of keeping a compelling why. Another thing that's really interesting is don't let your circumstances define your passion points. Don't let what has happened to you, maybe you ended up as a young parent, maybe you ended up without a job, maybe you ended up with a health condition the doctors say is going to be hard to break. Don't let that kill your why. People have overcome all things. So here's the challenge. When you're lacking direction, it's because you have given up on your ability to create. I'll say that again. Every time you're lacking inner direction, it's because you've given up on your ability to be a co-creator with the rest of the world, or the power of the universe, or a higher power. Whether you believe in a God, goddess, universe, spirit, whether you believe in just the power of creation, the energy of science, or whatever it is that you believe in, you hold its hand through the power of creating your life. And so when you have not a why, it's because you believe that whatever higher power exists than yourself, scientific or spiritual, has somehow disconnected from you in a way. Get back to the belief of what you see as possible. Study people who have done things similar to what you want to do, but also study people who've overcome. Study the art of the fact that from every great athlete to every great author to every great actor or performer, each one of them has struggled with inner doubt. You are no different. Matter of fact, if you're searching for unity, if you're searching for a purpose, if you're searching for a commonality, for someone to understand your dream, look at the people that have gone before you and blazed a trail for you to have the ability to even begin to chase the dream, and you will find a commonality, because those individuals who are dreamers, they had a why, but they also had their critics, and most of them, I'd say 80 to 90%, and I've worked with some of the best in the world, most of those individuals, 80 to 90% of them, their biggest critic is themselves, because we all struggle with that, can I be different? There's 3 valuable questions to ask yourself in any moment when you're trying to change things. These 3 valuable questions break down to a total of 5 words. Why? Why not? What if? Now, if you can break your life down into those 3 questions, 5 words that will shatter your life and change your illusions, you will begin to understand why. Why am I motivated by this thing? Why am I letting this thing stop me? Why do I let these circumstances define me? Why not? Why not me? Why not now? Why not, today? Why not make that phone call? Why not talk to this person? Why not learn from this individual? Why not study some more? And then, what if? What if I was to do things differently? What if I was to forgive myself for my past? What if I was to accomplish my dreams? What if I was to do the unthinkable? What if I made the history that I want to make rather than the excuses I've been making? Those 3 questions in a varied order. Doesn't matter which one you ask first, but anytime you're stuck, using one of them will help you. Those 3 questions will get you to a place of motion if you're true and honest in answering them. But finding your why, discovering your reason, discovering your motivation within self, but also within a greater cosmic sense, or a greater larger than yourself sense, is essential to growing your life, is essential to growing your finances, is essential to growing your level of happiness and progress. Now, as I close for today, I remind you, life, relationship, and creativity coach Scott Golden, I remind you, we're on a push to 100 subscribers. When we get there, we're going to give away a free month of coaching services with me, $350 value. So share, like, subscribe to this video. Comment below if you ever think that you would like someone to check out a comment. I or a member of the staff will eventually make an audio about it. Also, I encourage you, we're going to try and 30x this. So what I'd love for people to do for 30 days, share this with one person, get them to subscribe, and we will prove that the Progress Tribe, which is what we really are, because progress creates happiness, the Progress Tribe's where it's at in 2018. I remind you, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.